What if the smallest habit you ignore every single day is quietly holding more power over your aging body than all the expensive supplements, complicated routines, and loud health advice you've been chasing for years without real results? That question hit me early one morning as I stood in my kitchen, half awake, holding a single clove between my fingers, wondering if this tiny, sharp-smelling spice could actually do anything meaningful for a body that has already crossed 60 and learned, sometimes the hard way, that quick fixes usually disappoint. And I'll be honest, I didn't start this experiment with excitement. I started it with doubt mixed with curiosity. The kind of curiosity older people develop after trying enough things to know most promises are exaggerated. Because at this age, your body doesn't respond to hype. It responds to consistency and respect. And chewing cloves sounded almost too simple, almost old-fashioned, like something your grandparents would casually mention without explaining. And yet, that simplicity is exactly what made me pause. Because aging isn't about adding more anymore. It's about removing what doesn't work and rediscovering what quietly supports you. So day one began without ceremony. I placed the clove in my mouth, chewed slowly, and immediately felt that sharp, warming intensity spread across my tongue and gums. Not pleasant, not terrible, just very present. And presence matters after 60, because numbness is often the real enemy. Not pain, and within minutes my mouth felt unusually clean, like something deeper than toothpaste had just passed through, and the taste lingered for hours, reminding me that I had done something intentional, something deliberate. And as the day moved on, I noticed my digestion felt slightly calmer after breakfast. Nothing dramatic, no fireworks, just less heaviness. And that's when the pattern of this entire experience started forming. Because cloves didn't shout, they whispered. And day two arrived with less skepticism and more attention. And I noticed my breath stayed fresher longer. My mouth felt healthier in a way that's hard to describe, like the gums themselves were more awake. And by midday, I realized I hadn't reached for snacks out of boredom like I usually do, which made me think about how oral habits influence appetite in subtle ways. And here's where the story becomes personal. Because aging bodies are sensitive, they respond quickly to small changes. And by day 3, I started waking up with slightly less stiffness in my jaw and neck. Again, not gone, just softened. And that softening matters because stiffness after 60 feels like the body arguing with you before the day even begins. And chewing cloves felt like it calmed that argument just a little. And as someone who has tried stretches, teas, pills, and powders, this quiet response surprised me. Because there was no forcing, no pushing, just cooperation. And then day 4 brought an unexpected shift in energy. Not more energy, just steadier energy, the kind that doesn't spike and crash. And I found myself finishing tasks without feeling drained halfway through. And this made me think deeply about how we misunderstand energy as something you add, when in reality, it's something you stop wasting. And cloves, strangely enough, felt like they reduced friction inside my system. And by day 5, my digestion felt noticeably smoother. Meals sat better, less bloating, less discomfort. And this is something many people over 60 quietly struggle with, but rarely talk about openly. Because gut discomfort becomes normal with age, even though it shouldn't be. And chewing cloves didn't cure anything, but it reminded my body how to process instead of resist. And then there was sleep, subtle but meaningful. Falling asleep felt easier. Waking up felt less abrupt. And no, I didn't sleep longer, but I slept calmer. And calm sleep is priceless at this stage of life. And by the time day 6 arrived, my joints, especially my fingers and knees, felt less stiff in the morning. Not flexible like youth, but cooperative like wisdom. And I realized something important in that moment. This wasn't about cloves being magical. It was about the body finally getting a signal it understands. Warmth, rhythm, routine, and day 7 didn't feel like a finish line. It felt like a conversation that had just started. Because the biggest change wasn't physical, it was mental. I felt more connected to my body, more aware of its responses, less impatient with its limits. And that awareness is something most modern health advice completely ignores. Because after 60, health isn't about control. It's about relationship, and chewing cloves became a daily reminder that small, intentional habits can still shape how you feel, how you move, how you rest, and how you age, quietly, honestly, without performance. And that realization stayed with me long after the taste faded. But here's the real question no one asks. Why do small, old-fashioned habits like chewing cloves feel more powerful now than they ever did when we were younger? And the answer unfolded slowly as the days passed and reflection deepened. Because when you're young, your body absorbs abuse and recovers quietly. But after 60, your body becomes honest, brutally honest. It reacts quickly. It signals clearly, and it refuses to hide discomfort. Which is why gentle habits suddenly matter more than aggressive ones. And chewing cloves didn't overwhelm my system. It supported it, and that distinction is everything. Because modern wellness often treats aging like a problem to fix instead of a process to respect. And this 7-day experience reminded me that the body doesn't want to be dominated. It wants to be listened to. And as the habit continued, I noticed how my mornings became more intentional. Chewing that single clove slowed me down, made me pause, breathe, and acknowledge my body before rushing into the day. And that pause alone has value. Because stress after 60 doesn't just affect the mind. It settles into joints, digestion, sleep, and mood. And cloves seem to create a small ritual of grounding. And here's something most viral videos won't admit. The benefits weren't linear. Some days felt better than others. Some mornings felt neutral, and that's okay. Because real health isn't a straight line, it's a pattern. And over time, I noticed my cravings softened. My mouth felt healthier, my digestion more predictable, and my overall sense of internal warmth increased, especially in the mornings. Which matters because circulation and warmth become more important as we age. And this warmth wasn't heat, it was comfort. The kind that tells your body it's safe. And safety is deeply connected to healing. And mentally, something shifted too. I felt more confident in choosing simple habits over complicated routines. More trusting of my own experience rather than chasing someone else's formula. And that confidence is a form of health people rarely talk about. Because when you trust your body, you treat it better. And this experience also made me reflect on how often older people are told they need more. More supplements, more programs, more rules, when sometimes they need less noise and more consistency. And chewing cloves didn't demand anything from me. It fit into my life instead of forcing my life to change. And that's why it worked. Not because cloves are a miracle, but because the habit was sustainable. And sustainability is the real secret to aging well. And I also became more aware of my limits. Chewing more than one clove felt too intense. And that taught me another lesson. Moderation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And listening to discomfort early prevents bigger problems later. And as the days turned into reflection, I realized this habit had done something unexpected. It made me curious again. Curious about how small daily choices shape long-term health. Curious about what else I might be overlooking because it seems too simple to matter. And that curiosity is powerful, especially after 60, because it keeps the mind flexible, engaged, alive. And if you're watching this and wondering whether you should try chewing cloves yourself, here's my honest suggestion. Not advice, just experience. Start small. 1 clove, once a day, preferably in the morning. Chew slowly. Pay attention to how your body responds. Stop if something feels off. Don't chase results. Let them unfold, and most importantly, treat it as a conversation with your body, not a test you need to pass. Because aging gracefully isn't about doing everything right. It's about doing a few things consistently and kindly. And whether cloves become part of your routine or not, let this story remind you that small habits still matter. Your body is still listening. And it's never too late to build trust with yourself again. One quiet, intentional choice at a time.